And so let's go ahead and take a look at this fifth practice midterm. And I'm going to go ahead and start with question number 5, okay? And if we have time, we can come back to some of these other ones, but I want to start with 5. And so we say here, which of the following is an example of a company that would use process costing? And remember, with process costing, we consider each item to be homogeneous, right? So each can of what? Pepsi is going to be the same, right? Homogeneous. So Pepsi would be using process costing. I even think that in the little set of slides we went through, they had a can of soda sitting there for some of them, or did I put cornflakes down, I guess? But I think in the original slides they had soda there. Okay, so that's going to be process costing. Okay, stop me if there's a question. Taking a look at item A, manufacturing of luxury yachts. Okay, and I had a semester where people just didn't understand why luxury yacht would be job costing. That term luxury tells you everything you need to know there, right? Each item is going to be unique. We're not going to sit there and mass produce luxury lots on the hopes that Donald Trump's going to come and buy one from us, right? We're going to just go ahead and make it to order. Okay, so that would be job costing. This one, have we worked this one before? No? Okay, we'll go through this one. What is the balance in the work in process account at the end of the year? Okay, so what happens? Well, they give me beginning work in process, don't they? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with the beginning balance, and the beginning balance is 32. Beginning balance is what? 29,700, right? And it's going to be my job now to try to figure out what the adds and what the subtracts are going to be from this work in process, so I can get to the what? To the ending balance. Okay, so can we come up with the adds here? Adds are going to be what? My direct labor, okay, of 77,000. I'm just going to do a little side calculation here. So I've got direct labor, 77,000. What else? What else do I have to pick up? I got my direct labor. Anything else? Manufacturing overhead. Okay, so my predetermined manufacturing overhead rate is what? 130%. So I'm going to take 1.3 times this, what, 77,000 of my direct labor cost. Okay, I'm going to write direct labor over here a little bit. 77,000. Just doing a side calculation. What's 1.3 of 77,000? 101. 1,100. Just tell me, speak English to me, huh? 100. 100. Okay. Okay, good. That's 1.3 of 77,000. So I got my direct labor, I got my manufacturing overhead, don't I? Anything else? Direct material. Okay. So my direct materials, and they tell me that it's 77,000 is the direct materials. Oops, did I pick up the right number? I mean, direct materials, they tell me is what? 51,000? 51,000 for my direct materials. But they tell me that some of for my materials, but they tell me that some of that was what? Indirect. So I'm going to have to subtract off the 4,500, right? It's indirect. What does that give me? 46,500. Okay. So if I add all those up, those are my manufacturing costs, aren't they? that I have to add here. So what are my man costs? I'm I'm asking. 223,600, you say? Okay. So I add that 223,600, and what's the subtract if I'm analyzing work in progress over here? From my work in progress? Cost of goods manufactured needs to be subtracted, doesn't it? So my cost of goods manufactured is also 223,000. Something doesn't seem right here. 223,000. Okay, so what's the ending balance then? Beginning balance in work in progress was what? 29,700. I added these manufacturing costs, which was what? Direct labor, direct materials, right? And my manufacturing overhead applied was what is a percent of direct labor cost. Did we get the right number there? Huh? This is 30,000. Is that what I get here? 30,300? Okay. You guys are making me nervous. I'm relying on you here. I don't have a calculator. I don't do these numbers in my head. Right? It doesn't add up? Are you going to do this on the day of the test, not bring a calculator? Huh? That's what it is? No calculator? Okay. And it ties to that? Okay. Okay. All right. I would suggest at least bringing a calculator on the day of the test. I know you don't like to use calculators for some reason, but day of the test, you're going to be in trouble if you don't. Okay. All right. So how about this one now? Company allocates overhead based on direct labor cost. What are the total manufacturing overhead costs? So we base it on what? Based on my direct labor cost. So my direct labor costs are how much? 320,000. Okay. Oops, but I need to pick up what? The estimated 325,000. And then I'm going to take what? Divide that by what? The estimated manufacturing overhead to come up with the predetermined rate of what? 1.33. Okay. And then I multiply that by what? By the actual direct labor, right, of 320,000. And that gives me what? 426,000. What would we do wrong here? Oh, I know what I did wrong. I think it was supposed to be 0.75 here, wasn't it? Yeah. Actually, I should have put this question before that one. I got my numbers crossed there. It's I'll use the mouse, John. It is supposed to be the other way around. I put what? I put the um, I put the estimated overhead in the numerator, right? Isn't that how we do it? And we divide it by the driver, which is my direct labor cost. I got confused there because usually the bigger number is in the numerator, but it's the estimated overhead in the numerator. The denominator is the driver, which is direct labor dollars. What's that give us? 75%? $243,750 divided by 325,000 is how much? 0.75, and I take that 0.75 and I multiply that times the actual direct labor, and that should give me answer D, which is what? Huh? 230,000? 40,000? Okay. So I get the 240,000, choice D. Okay. No? What am I doing wrong? I just looked at this. Let me see. Answer D here is 200. The company allocates based under and allocates manufacturing overhead. That one's 240. Why would this one be different? It's the same set of facts, isn't it? Oh, no wonder. Hello. Read the question carefully, John. What are the what? Actual. I did the applied. I need to get what? I need to get the actual, don't I? So this is what? I need to pick up the depreciation on the factory, 65,400. What else? Factory utilities, 30,200. Anything else for the actual? Factory rent, 47,700. Anything else? Property tax, 28,100. Anything else? Indirect materials, 33,000. Good. Anything else? We got the rent. I thought I got the indirect labor already. I didn't. Indirect labor of 22,000 what? 400. Okay. Got the utilities. Got the This thing's gonna drive me nuts. Got the utilities. Got the indirect labor. Got the factory rent. Got the factory property taxes, indirect. Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Does that give you D? Huh? Okay. Okay, so that's the actual. And then where I was messing up on that other question is I was sitting there, that gives you 226,000, those things totaled, right? Okay, and what I was doing wrong up there, I wasn't reading the question carefully. First of all, I got the wrong rate because I put the overhead in the denominator. The overhead goes in the numerator, the driver in the denominator. That gives me the rate. And then I multiplied that times the actual, right? So first I had to get the rate. That was the question, the answer to this one, the 75%. And then you took that and you multiplied that times the total direct labor cost, the actual direct labor cost. That gave you the amount applied, right? Okay, good. Okay. Now you come and you look at this one, and now we're going to be giving you the cost versus the amount of hours that they're using. And the problem says using the high-low method, what is the variable cost? So your job was to figure out the high and the low, right? So the high month is what, 1392? What? 1392. And the low is what, 115? Okay. And so then you go ahead and you take the high, which is 225,580, minus 82,613, the low. Okay. And then what? 258, 263. Okay. $258, 263, you say? Minus the is 82,613. We're still in agreement is the low? Okay. And then I'm going to divide that by what? Oh, no, I see the problem with this one. This one was kind of weird in that we had a difference in the activity because we had high activity. And so if you run into that, and I didn't realize that about this question when I put it in there. If you run into that situation, you have to you let the activity drive. So even though the costs were higher because the activity was higher, these costs are not perfectly linear, right? And so there's a chance that you could have a situation where the units are more and the cost is less. So you use the units here. Okay? So the units were what, 1392? Yeah. Okay, so that's why we should have used the 1392. We should have gone by the units of 1392, and the cost associated with that was what? 225. So we got to pick that back up. 225,580 minus this 82,613 divided by what? Divided by the 1392, huh? Minus 115. Okay, and then you can just come down to the calculation here just to see the math on it, which is 225,850 minus the what? 882613 using the high level of activity gives us the variable cost. Okay. Do I always follow the credit? When you say credit, you follow the units. Yes. Yeah, units drive. Whatever the driver is, you follow the driver. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we come over and we ask for the fixed. And so we're going to go ahead here, and you can see that they went ahead and recomputed the variable, which we already know is this 111.96. And so we're going to take our total cost, and they use the high total cost of 225,580 minus, and we multiply the 111.96 that we calculate on the last problem times the number of units. So my total cost minus my variable cost equals what? Equals my fixed cost here, right? Okay, and so once we got the fixed cost, then we can go ahead, and all this wanted to see is if you could come up with the equation for this, which is the fixed cost plus the variable cost times the number of credit hours in this example is the driver, right? Okay, and then that made the next question pretty easy, number 14, in that they say if it's 1,000 credit hours, what would be the total cost? Is that dog okay? We would do what? We would take the fixed cost plus what? Plus the variable cost per unit times the number of units they told us here, right? Okay, let's take a look at this one. Which of the following is the difference between variable cost and fixed cost? Variable cost per unit are the same, are fixed over the relevant range. Fixed cost per unit are variable, aren't they? Right? So if I have $100,000 of fixed costs and I produce 1 unit, what's my cost per fixed cost per unit? 100,000. But if I produce what? That second unit, now my fixed cost per unit is how much? 50,000, right? Okay, so that's variable with the per unit, isn't it? Whereas the fixed cost is going to be what? Whatever it is, 111.96 per unit. That's going to be the same regardless of the number of units, right? Okay, so it's on a per unit basis is the key here. Okay, good. Alex Company has the following information, and we want the cost of goods manufactured. Cost of goods manufactured is going to be what? This subtract from work in progress. So if I analyze work in progress, what's the beginning work in progress? 235,000. Then I'm going to do the adds. What are the adds? Direct materials, which looks like they're going to make me do some calculation for the direct materials. So let's hold that one for last. How about direct labor? Did I pick up the direct labor? Okay. That's 300,000. How about the overhead? Overhead, they tell me, is 60% of my direct labor cost. So that means it's what? 300,000 times what? 0.6 is 180,000. Okay, good. Now I just have to come up with my direct materials, don't I? Okay. But they made me work a little bit here for direct materials in that what? I have my beginning balance, so now I'm going to have to analyze direct materials. I have my beginning balance in direct materials is how much? 134,000. And then I want to figure out the adds to direct materials, which is the amount purchased. But this is where accounting 101 meets 100. If I return some, I have to take that off of the 189, don't I? If I return those. And then if I get a what? If I have to pay the transportation, that's part of the cost of the direct materials. So what's that give me? 191 is the net amount purchased. Right? I returned some, but I had to pay the freight for some, so I got to add that in. And then they tell me the ending balance is how much? Ending balance in direct materials is 124. So I must have what? Used how many? Do your subtotal. 134 plus 191 is I'm just going to get my calculator. 325,000? Okay. 325,000, good. And if I ended up with a 325,000 and I ended up with what? With 124, and I think we said last time we're going to always do this little side calculation. We're going to get what here? As a subtract? 201,000? 201,000? Okay, so 201,000 then is the materials, isn't it? I got my direct labor. I got my manufacturing overhead. 201,000 must be the materials. So what's that total? Huh? 681,000 you say? Okay. 681,000 is the add. The ending balance here is what? Ending balance they gave me right here is what? 251. Okay. So if I went from what, I have to get my subtotal in here. Subtotal right there is what? 235 plus the adds is how much? 916. Okay, then how did I get from 916,000 to 251,000? Minus what? 251,000? Gives me what? 665,000? Okay, is that the answer? 665,000? Cost of goods manufactured is the subtract. So this was one where you did have to get up into calculate the direct materials, didn't you? So you had to analyze both direct materials and work in progress in this question. Once you analyzed the direct materials, you got the direct materials, and then you were back to some of those other ones we had done in some of the other practice midterms where we just gave you the direct material, we gave you the manufacturing overhead, we gave you the direct labor, right? Question? That's a little tougher one because you had to analyze two accounts, right?
Could you not have just found the overhead by taking point 0.6 times 300,000 and adding that to direct materials and direct labor and getting the same answer, subtracting the returns and transportation?
I'm not sure what you just said. They gave me the direct labor. I caught the direct materials, manufacturing overhead by multiplying the labor by zero point 0.6. So talk to me about what you wanted to do with direct materials again.
So add those three up and subtract the purchase returns and transportation. Would that not give you the same answer? Which is not what it is.
I don't think so. I'm not quite sure I'm understanding what you're saying here. You want to come up and show me what you wanted to do? Go ahead and show me what you're thinking you would do here, because I'm not following you. So you want to take to get the direct materials, you wanted to do what?
So add direct materials plus the direct labor, and then also add whatever we got from point 0.6, which would give us 669. And then you would subtract the 1,000 from the purchase returns and the transportation to get the same number.
To get the 665?
Yeah. Does that work every time?
Yeah, you could do that too, because what you're saying is if I know what my materials, where's your labor? Oh, you got the labor,
And that's
300, you got the 180.
and that's
Um,
like, could we use this for the test?
I'm not sure why that's working, to be honest with you, because the cost of what you just gave me is the manufacturing cost, and that's asking me for the cost of goods manufactured, which is the amount transferred out. What you just gave me was the manufacturing cost, and I don't know why it came to the same number, to be honest with you. But 665,000 as being the manufacturing cost, that's true. But that's not the way I would do that. No, it won't always give you the same answer. You gave me direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead, right? Which is the manufacturing cost, but it's not the cost of goods manufactured. So it just must have turned out in this problem that they were the same number. Okay. Something's not right there. How did we come up with an add of 681,000? When we did what you just did, supposedly, we got this number. How are you saying you got 665,000? What we just did was we added 300,000 plus 180 plus 201, and we said that's 681,000. How are you saying that's 665,000? You just did the same thing. Only I should have stopped you. You subtracted the transportation. You should have added the transportation. You add the transportation. You don't subtract it. Maybe that's how you got that same number. I don't think so though. Even that won't work. So I have no idea where you got 665,000 by what you just wrote up on the board. When I add those numbers up, I get 681,000, right?
I think it's just the add.
I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna have to have my calculator. Okay, it must be the fancy calculators. I'm going to get the old man calculator here and see what happens. 300,000 plus 180,000 plus 201,000, which is the sum of adding the 3 minus the 1 on the materials, gives me 681,000. Where's 665 coming from on that?
And I just added up and it just gave me 665 after.
It's because she's adding it's 189, not 180.
Well, that's what I added, and that's what she wrote up there.
No, you didn't write 189 up there. You wrote 180.
Instead of 181.
Oh, 180? Oh, okay. So that's what's wrong? 300,000. Well, then how do we get the answer then? 300,000 plus what? 189? No, that's 180 is right. 180 is the this number. Okay, so that totals 681,000. I again ask, how did you get 665?
It just came out like that after I subtracted those numbers at the bottom. But you said I was supposed to add 30,000 instead, so.
189,000 plus 300,000 plus 180,000, right? Minus, what was the amount returned? 1,000 was returned, plus transportation in is 3,000. I see 671,000
But
more.
yeah, because you said I was supposed to add the 3,000 instead of
When I
subtracting.
added the 3,000, I got 671,000.
Yeah.
How did you get 685,000 out of that?
She was subtracting
600.
3,000 and you're adding at the end.
189,000 plus 300,000 plus 180,000 equals 669,000. You then subtracted 4,000 from that, and you got 665,000. I don't know. That's weird. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay? Because you had to add the transportation cost in to get to the direct material. So that's just a weird coincidence. Okay. How would the property taxes paid on a factory building be classified? As what? Fixed. Okay. Okay, good. Then we come into this haggler to pays. And again, we're going to use the high-low method for this. So the high is what? 15,500?
Yeah.
And we get the cost there. The low is what? 11,500. Okay, good. So using the high-low method, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to point us down to the calculations here. 12,080 minus the 9580, the low activity, high, low, gives me what? Gives me, well, this one was taking me to where I have to have the, they were just giving me the total. So I didn't have you calculate the variable, but the variable then would have been 0.625. Is that right? Okay. And then if you use the high, 12,080 is the total cost at the high times the variable cost per unit times the high number of units, gives me the total cost, gives me the fixed cost of 239,250. I then put that into the formula 239,250 There it goes. 239,250 plus the variable cost times the number of units that they're saying they're going to produce. I guess it's two pays. Gives me the total of 11,142.50, right? Using the high-low method. So the only difference with this one was we went straight to asking you the cost rather than me break it out by tell me the variable cost, tell me the fixed cost. Now, if they produce this many units, give me the total cost. If they produce this many units, give me the predetermined overhead rate, which I think is the next question. We just made you go straight to what? Telling us the total cost here. Okay. So then you come over and I say using the same facts as the next question, tell me what the predetermined overhead rate should be. Who wants to set that one up for me?
Can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Is that why you're doing the 12,080 on top this time if you're doing the cost on top?
The costs are always on top versus the units. The costs are always on top. High-low method, the costs are always on top. High-low method, the total costs are always on top. Did you think you saw something else?
I don't know. I guess so.
What do you mean you guess so? We've done this 52,000 times.
Yeah.
The total costs are always on the top, right? Right? Okay. So the costs are on top. This is no different. And then the activity is in the numerator, right? High-low method, right? Look, if you're going to bother to come here when nobody else is bothering, you might as well get something out of it so you do well on the test. So do you have a question on this?
Well, that was just my question because I was confused because in the other one I thought we did it the opposite way. So I'm obviously wrong, but I was
The
just
only thing that I can think of that you're confused on is that we had the one where we put the total estimated cost in the numerator and the amount of activity in the denominator. That was to come up with the predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. That's not what this is. This is the high-low method, right? Okay. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. All right. Okay. Okay. So we then want to come up with the predetermined overhead rate, and now we're going to take this total of 11,142.50, and we're going to divide that by how many units? The 14,000 units we are going to estimate that we're going to produce. So now we've got the cost in the numerator and the number of units in the denominator. So I think that's the problem there. You're crossing those two ideas up. Okay, so what's that come to? 0.79 something or another. Okay, which we round up to 0.8. Give me that long number, that funky number. 0.79589, you say? Okay. Okay. All right, good. So now we've got that predetermined overhead rate. And are we on number 20 now, or did the thing skip down on us? 20? Okay. And so using the same facts from question 19, if Hagler's actual machine hours for 2007 were 13,700, I'm going to take that 13,700 and multiply it by, give me that weird number again, 0.7589, something like that. And what do you get? Something close to this, I hope. Okay, good. So we're in good shape there, right? Okay. Okay, good. So then I say using the same facts, if their actual overhead is 11,240 and what? 13,700 is the applied, isn't it? Actual versus applied. That difference, I hope, is this 336. We over applied. Oops, we didn't over apply. We did what? We under applied it, didn't we? So the answer should be D here, shouldn't it? Actual is 11,240, right? And we just got the applied up there. What am I doing? $10,904, and what's the applied? Oh, wait a minute. The actual overhead is 11,240, right? Oh, I see. Where did I get 13,700? Oh, from the number of hours. I see. It's actually what? The applied is 10,904. Okay, 10,904. So it is. That's correct. It is what? Over applied by that 336. Okay, I just picked up the machine hours or labor hours or whatever that is up there, the driver, instead of picking up the amount that was applied. Let me come back up. So the applied is 10,904. The actual is what? 11,240. So I am over applied, right? Okay. Okay, good. Based on your answer to question 21, Hagler determines that the over or under applied overhead is immaterial. Cost of goods sold will be what? Will be decreased, right? Because we've over applied it. Okay, good. Using the same facts, dealing with this toupee here, we want to figure out the cost of this toupee. And so it's what? 12,000 is the direct materials, 1,000 is the direct labor, right? Okay. And if it's 100 machine hours, 100 machine hours times what? Times 0.80, right? It's going to give me $80. Even I can do that one in my head. So that's what? 13,080? Okay. And then if we sell this toupee for what? For $20,000? Would someone pay $20,000 for a toupee? I think people do. Then we've got what? $6,920 of profit here? Okay. Use the following information for the next two questions. Okay, so we've got this overhead allocation rate being asked for, and we're telling that we do it based on what? Based on direct labor costs. Okay, so we're going to do what? We're going to put the estimated overhead in the numerator, 100,000. We put the driver in the denominator, right? 50,000. Right? So that's the 200%. Okay, and then what is the total cost of job 201? And so if you look back up at the table, job 201, we pick up the direct materials, 350. We pick up the direct labor costs of 200. And then if we're using what, 200% of 200, that should be what, 400? And so you add all that up, what's that, 950? Direct materials, direct labor, overhead. I mean, this whole test is basically testing over and over again. Direct materials, direct labor, overhead. I mean, that's kind of goes on and on that at some point, you know, it's almost, you almost got to be hypnotized to, you're almost hypnotized on this stuff, right? Okay. So here we look and we're looking for the what? The predetermined manufacturing overhead rate. So we have 25,000 labor hours that are budgeted. That's going to be the denominator, right? What do we use for the numerator? We're going to have to pick up we're going to have to add it up to come up with it, right? They didn't just give it to us. So how about direct materials? For overhead? I want to get the overhead, predetermined overhead rate, right? Do I use materials for that? No materials. How about the direct labor? No, those are direct. I'm looking for the indirects, which is what? 50,000 for the direct indirect materials, I should say. Okay. How about sales commissions? No, that's a selling expense. How about production foreman salaries? Pick up that 75,000 for that indirect labor. How about the machine maintenance? Got to pick those guys up. Remember, they keep running around from machine to machine. Got to pick them up. What else? Got to get the depreciation, 60. Good. How about the property taxes? Got to pick that up. Property taxes at 25,000. And I add all those numbers up. What does that give me? 335,000. 335,000 divided by 25,000 should give me this 1340, I guess. Okay. So some of them, with these overhead guys, some of them will use the high-low method to come up with the predetermined overhead rate. Sometimes they just give us the predetermined overhead rate. We just have to divide it by the units. Other ones, they're going to do what to us? They're going to make us pick out the items that constitute manufacturing overhead, right? Okay, the facts, use the facts for 28 through 31 to answer some of these. So we've got these T accounts sitting up here. And based on this T account, I'm just going to start asking you some questions. So what is the cost of goods manufactured? Huh?
Isn't it finished goods?
What about finished goods?
Isn't cost of goods manufactured become finished goods or finished goods?
Cost of goods manufactured comes out of work in progress and goes into finished goods, which is what I think you were saying. Okay, so it's that number right there. Right? Okay. Okay, good. Right? Isn't that what we do for our cost of goods manufactured? Okay, good. All right, so we're going to see what else they ask us. The total manufacturing cost, or what? How do I find that? Well, those should be amounts that got added to work in progress for the period, shouldn't it? Direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. Now, so so what's that? So I should pick up the 161, which I guess is my either direct materials or direct labor. I don't really care which one's which because I just want to get the totals that were added for the period, don't I? And when I add those together, do I get the answer? I should get 507, 500. Why does it not look right? Oh, because it's supposed to be 192, 500, right? So what's that? 507, 500? Okay, good. How about the cost of jobs completed for the period? Well, if something's completed, it's going to do what? It's going to come out of finished goods, isn't it? And go into what? Cost of goods sold. I don't know. I think I like that one. That's the cost of jobs sold. That's cost of goods sold, isn't it?
Yep.
Cost of jobs completed should be. Did we do that right before? Should be 506, shouldn't it? These two terms should be synonymous. Cost of jobs completed, that's the cost of goods sold. Why wouldn't I call it the cost of goods sold? This should be the same answer. I don't like this question anymore. It shouldn't be 500,000. The cost of jobs completed were the ones that were sent to finished goods, weren't they? Which is 506,000. So we should call that, the correct answer to that is 506,000, not 500,000. If I asked you what's the cost of goods sold for the period, then that answer is what? Then 500,000 is the right answer to that, not 506,000. Not 500,000, it's 506,000. How about the applied manufacturing overhead for the period? How would have I found that? Applied manufacturing overhead. What's the journal entry when I apply manufacturing overhead? Journal entry to apply manufacturing overhead. Journal entry to apply manufacturing overhead. Huh? Good. Credit the applied and debit the work in progress, right? So, do I have a credit to the applied here? 192,500. Huh? Okay. Debit on the left, credit on the right. This is a credit to the manufacturing overhead. Right? Okay. And do I have a debit to the work in progress for that? So there we go. We're good, right? Right? So the answer is 192,500. Must be the applied. Okay. How about the manufacturing overhead was under or over applied. It says under applied 2,500. Let's check that. So what's happening here? I applied 192,000, and if you total these three numbers up, the actual is 195, isn't it? So I under applied it, didn't I? By 2,500? Okay. So it's under applied by 2,500. Okay, good. And then I mercifully came to an end on that question. I could have asked you what should happen to cost of goods sold, and the answer is that cost of goods sold should have done what? Should have increased, right, for that 2,500 that you see there. Okay. All right, good. I'm going to skip that question. It's going to take us too long, and I'm not going to ask you that. Let's take a look at this one, though. So we got to come up with cost of goods sold for the period, right? And so we're going to analyze our finished goods, aren't we? So we analyze finished goods, B, A, S, E. My beginning finished goods is what? 30,200. My ending is 24,600. Okay, and I'm looking for the subtract, right? I know that's the cost of goods sold. So what was the add? The 114,000 is the cost of goods manufactured, isn't it? The add. And so I go ahead and I add. I've been doing that all day. I keep forgetting to put the last three numbers on here. If it's 500, I keep putting 500. Okay, good. So what's the subtotal here? 144,700, you say? Okay. And then I do our little side calculation that we discovered last time as part of this process. 144,700 minus what? 24,600 means that the subtract must have been this 120,000. 100. Right? Okay, good. What is the amount of raw materials used in production? That's a subtract from raw materials, isn't it? Okay, beginning balance is 11,000. Ending balance is 10,400. Good. The adds for the period is the raw materials purchased, isn't it? I have no idea what manufacturing supplies expense is. That's a distractor. Okay, so what's the total subtotal here? Okay, and so I do my little side calculation, 97,000 minus what, 10,400? Gives me the subtract must have been 86,800. 600. Right? Okay, good. These are pretty easy, right? Using the information. Did we do this one before? The singing dolls. I might have given you a different question for them this time. Let's let's take a look at it. I think we'll have a little time to finish this one and another couple. So the work in progress, what do they want? Cost of goods manufactured? Okay, so we're going to analyze the work in progress, right? And we're going to try to get the subtract here. Beginning balance is 50,000. We work the same one. Ending balance is what, 37,000? Okay, good. Adds are what? The overhead, the materials, and the labor, right? That comes to a total of 44,500. Okay, good. So we add that over here, 44,500. And that brings us to what, 94,500 is the subtotal? Right? And then right? Then we do our extra little calculation over here, 94,500 minus the 37,000 ending balance gives me 57,500. Okay, good. You guys should be good at these, right? Manufacturing cost added for the period. What account am I going to analyze? Going to analyze work in progress. Good. That's where my manufacturing costs get added. So I have to sit here and I have to do what? Oh, I don't really have to analyze work in progress, do I? I just have to pick up the numbers here. No sense in making that one harder than it is. I didn't have to back into anything there, right? Okay. Cost of goods manufactured is going to be what? The amounts that get transferred out of work in progress. It's the subtract from work in progress. Now I got to analyze, don't I? So I have what? Beginning work in progress is 3,000. Ending work in progress is 4,000. Is it the same numbers that got added? Are these the same three numbers or no? 7,000 plus 5,100 plus what? Materials of 5,000? 5,100 plus materials of what? 5,000. So what's the adds? 17,100. Okay, good. And so if I have what, 20,100 is my subtotal, I take the 20,100 and I subtract off the 4,000. And so that means there must have been a subtract of what, 16,100 to end up with 4,000 in the ending balance, right? Right there's my 4,000 in the ending balance. Right? Okay, any questions? You need the Scantron, skinny one, 150 questions on the back, 50 questions on the front. Right? It'll be a 30 question midterm.
How many of the questions are exercises?
I don't know. Most of them are this type exercises. There's just a couple theory ones. I don't know exactly how many though. But I would say probably, of the 30, probably 28 of them or 25 of them, this one right here, are going to be of this nature where you're going to have to do calculations. If I were you, I would sleep with this test under your pillow.
Hey, the Raiders won.
That's right.
Andre tied, man. He's tied. It's got that late penalty call with the ref. Andre Johnson tied it. Green flag. That's good.
That only applies if I'm preparing your test on a Sunday. No, I'm just kidding. Um, if I were you guys, I would